Festool is the cool kid brand of woodworking right now, and they know it. They are not shy about their astronomical pricing. But what if I told you there was another pro brand out there offering awesome tools at way less than half the price, and they just happen to also make green tools? We're gonna pit these two brands against each other tool by tool to find out exactly when spending more money actually buys you more tool. And if you think you know where this battle is headed, you're in for a big surprise. Let's get started. Unless this is your first YouTube woodworking video, you've definitely heard the name Festool, like a lot. And if it is your first video, welcome. The historic German brand is everywhere on social media. Most of the time it's sitting in its case looking like a filing cabinet shaped trophy on a craftsman's mantle, and sometimes you'll even see the tools actually being used. But most of the time they're in their natural habitat, sitting completely dust-free, photogenically placed on top of a workbench. Jokes aside, these are high-end tools with innovative technology and pro-grade performance that the highest end of cabinet and furniture makers swear by. And the tools don't just perform well. Festool has a maniacal attention to detail that culminates in a full ecosystem of tools. It makes them feel a lot more like Apple than it does another power tool brand. They're renowned for their niceties and creature comforts, like industry-leading dust collection, especially when paired with their extractor. Little things that add up that make for a worthy investment for a lot of people. So are you foaming at the mouth yet to click on that shiny affiliate link, trying to decide which kidney you're going to sell to be able to afford the tools? Well, before you hit that buy button or call your surgeon, let's take a beat. We're going to talk about their competitor in this battle, who I think punches well above their price class. Now, when I say the name of this brand, think about what comes to mind. Metabo HPT. Now, what does that brand name make you think about? Does it make you think about anything at all? If your answer was B, nothing at all, you're not alone. Metabo's marketing has been pretty much non-existent since they merged with everybody's favorite 2000s nostalgia brand, Hitachi, in 2018. The Hitachi line was rebranded Metabo HPT in North America. Outside North America, you know them as Hikoki. But the regular Metabo 18-volt line is still around worldwide. And all of those lines are not compatible, technically speaking. They use different batteries and different chargers, which makes the whole thing pretty confusing. So it turns out they're not quite the marketing gurus that Festool has proven to be over the past couple of years. Now, seemingly they saw the error of their ways, and in 2026, Metabo and Metabo HPT are merging as a brand into one unified platform, at least in North America. So hopefully that clears up some of the confusion. Despite the branding missteps, the tools perform exceptionally well. For about a 10 to 15% price premium over something like Ryobi, you get into a true pro-grade tool platform with plenty to offer for woodworkers from all skill levels. So what we have here is two really reputable cordless power tool brands with two very different market positions and even more different pricing levels. Now, if you're starting to get into either of these platforms, the best place to start for most people is a drill driver set, because usually they come with batteries, which gets you started with the tools that you're going to buy down the road. Now, for the Festool, you're going to be greeted to the platform with a bill for a cool $649. For the Festool TID 18 HPC 4,0I-set T18. They don't call German a romance language for no reason. Now, in English, that roughly translates to you get a drill, an impact driver, and some batteries to get started. You also get one of those more Apple-like touches, the sustainer system. Think of this as the German equivalent to Milwaukee Packout, except instead of getting empty boxes, each sustainer has custom molded high-density foam in it that perfectly fits your tools so that you can live out your dream of tucking your track saw into bed at night. Blanket sold separately. The sustainers are designed to fit the tool and the accessories all in one convenient place, and they stack on top of each other for easy storage and show-off ability. It's the little things. Now, the equivalently powered Metabo set retails for $219. Big oof for Festool. Well, Festool can at least rest easy knowing that Metabo owners will have to settle for flimsy nylon tool bags instead of a sustainer. So if you buy the Metabo, you're just gonna have to store your drill in a bag or on a shelf like the rest of us barbarians. With no standout features or power or anything really additional to speak of on the Festool, this round is an easy KO for Metabo. Next up, track saws. Now, we are a pro cord cutting channel. When you're working out of a small shop especially, the convenience and the much easier organization of not dealing with power cords everywhere is just a huge win all around. And in the year 2026, cordless power tools offer plenty of power for your projects. So here we're going to go with Festool's only cordless track saw, which also happens to be their cheapest track saw, coming in at $549. Now, to put that in perspective, Milwaukee charges $569 for their track saw in the same configuration as Festool, which means it includes the track but not a battery. battery. Now with the cordless Festool track saw, you do lose a traditional writhing knife like the corded models have, but you do get a virtual writhing knife, which just means that when the tool detects kickback, it'll cut the power, which is a pretty awesome safety feature, honestly, especially when you compare it to the Metabo in the other corner, which actually offers no writhing knife and no real safety features. Plus with the Festool, you're going to get better dust collection. Like I mentioned, that's one of their hallmarks. So how much exactly are you saving going with the Metabo? Well, it turns out nothing. The Metabo retails also for $549. Now the Metabo does punch back in a category that I know a lot of people love, which is raw power, baby. Metabo's track saw operates on their MultiVolt platform, meaning it can take their larger 36-volt batteries, giving it that extra oomph that can make it feel a lot closer to the power of a corded track saw. So yes, you will need a specialized battery for this, but it is backwards compatible with the 18-volt Metabo tools, and the track saw does include that battery in the configuration, unlike Festool. So if we're going to make this fair, let's go ahead and add a Festool battery for a surprisingly reasonable $165. That's pretty much in line with what a brand like Milwaukee charges for a battery of a similar size. So Festool is actually not egregious when it comes to battery pricing. Now the Festool has another trick up its sleeve actually when it comes to power. Like I mentioned, it runs on its 18-volt power packs, but it actually has 2 slots for batteries, meaning you're effectively creating a 36-volt platform on the Festool as well. Now in real world performance, you're not going to get double the power by using 36 volts in either of these tools. The reality is much more nuanced than that, but still both of these track saws offer excellent power for a cordless tool. So this round is pretty evenly matched actually, and while the Festool does have that $143 premium, I think the build quality, those safety features, the sustainer, and all those other small benefits that you get with Festool, I think the Germans actually have an easy win on their hands in round 2. The battle for the best buy track saw between Metabo and Festool goes to Festool. Turns out Festool actually can be a value leader in some categories, who would have thought? So with Festool riding high on their win of round 2, let's bring things back down to earth a little bit, talking about circular saws. Now a circular saw is the most important and probably the first tool most people buy when they first get into woodworking. And for a lot of hobbyists, it might actually be the only saw you ever need. So this is an important category. Now in typical Festool fashion, they don't just sell a circular saw, they sell a carpentry saw, which is just a fancy name for a circular saw. And they're going to charge you $599 for the bare tool with a 6.5-ish inch blade. The metric measurements don't translate perfectly to inches, obviously, but it's around 6.5 inches. And let me just emphasize that price. That's more than the Festool track saw, which comes with a track. That's just Festool math for you, everybody. Now, wonky mathematics aside, you do get the sustainer with the Festool, so you get some points for that. Power is a little bit less on the circular saw than it was on the track saw. It only uses a single 18-volt battery here, which is fine because the equivalent Metabo saw also uses just an 18-volt battery, at least on a 6.5 inch, and their 6.5 inch saw is known as the deep cut saw. The reason it's called the deep cut saw is because it has a cutting capacity that rivals and even exceeds a lot of full-size 7.25 inch circular saws. You can cut a 3x3 in one pass at 90 degrees and a 2x2 in one pass at 45 degrees. Now, unfortunately for Festool, there's really no other benefits or features to talk about other than the very modern art style of the whole thing. So they're not really doing themselves any favors when it comes to justifying that cost difference. So round 3 is going to be another point in Metabo's corner. All right, round 4, sanders. Now, everybody knows that Festool sucks. They're known for their industry-leading dust collection capabilities, reducing fine particles on your workpiece. That just might be the dorkiest sentence I've ever uttered in my entire life. Anyway, their tools in general are great at trapping fine dust, but especially their sander. If you watch any videos or reviews on this sander, like this awesome one that John Malecki did that I'll link in the description, comparing it to a cheaper sander, you'll see there's a clear difference in how clean your workspace is afterwards and the speed of the sand itself. The more dust you can keep off your workpiece, the more efficiently and therefore quicker sanding will be for you. And for most people, sanding is their least favorite part of woodworking. Not to mention, it could contribute to a healthier workspace overall. Now, if you're somebody that suffers from conditions like asthma, like I do, this could be a huge benefit for you. So with all that said, what's this all going to cost you? Well, $549. Ouch. Now, before you scoff at the price, they actually do sell a cheaper cordless sander, but for some reason it takes a different shaped battery that's also 18 volts. It really makes no sense. And let's take a look at the competition. Makita sells their random orbital sander for $264. $4 for a 40 volt. Well, what about Milwaukee? They're always a great brand for helping us justify expensive tools. Milwaukee's random orbital sander is $229, and as for Metabo HPT, $139. Not looking good for Festool. But here's the thing, this category might be where you get the most bang for your buck spending the additional cash. All those benefits I spoke about, especially the time and health benefits, could really add up over years of working on projects. So in this case, I'm gonna say that these two are actually pretty evenly matched when it comes to value, depending on what your priority list is. If you work outside like I do, or you don't need a lot of that stuff, or you don't care about it, go ahead, save money with the Metabo. But if you do care about your time or your health, I think that could be money well spent. So this one's really up to you, and therefore I'm gonna call it a tie between the two brands. All right, moving on to our final tool of this battle, routers. And I'm gonna start off with kind of a rant, because Festool, unlike pretty much every other power tool brand out there, does not sell a cordless router at all. Not even a trim router. Like I said before, this is a pro cord cutting channel. That is a weird omission in the year 2026. And before you blow up the comments, I get it. Festool is not directly targeting hobbyists. They're directing commercial, high-end woodworkers and carpenters. But wouldn't you think that on a job site, cordless would be even more important if you're working on a new construction home where there's no utilities set up yet, or maybe you're even working out of a customer's home and you don't want to be tripping their breaker every couple minutes. I would think on a job site, cordless could be even more important than a hobbyist. But I'm certainly not a pro. I could be totally wrong about that. Let me know what you think. So for now, if you do voluntarily want to be chained to a cord, you could pay Festool $699 for the honor. Metabo's cordless trim router, by the way, $169. Plus, Metabo sells a well-regarded cordless sponge router on their 36 volt platform for about half the price of the corded Festool. So this round is also going to go to Metabo. I can't wait to hear the comments on this one. Are you team cordless or corded? Let me know. So drum roll, please. The final calculations are in. If you went all in on Festool with all the tools that we discussed, you're going to be melting your credit card with a swipe for $3,045 for 6 tools. That comes out to $500 per tool. I'll let that sink in. Now, if you went with the other Slim Shady Metabo, you're looking at spending $1,215 for those 6 tools, which comes out to a little over $200 per tool. So we're looking at Festool being 2.5 times more expensive. Overall, this Best Buy price fight goes to Metabo with 3 wins, 1 loss, and a tie against Festool. And even though it was going to be tough for Festool to compete in a battle of practicality, I gotta admit, it was a lot closer than I expected it to be. After diving a little bit deeper and being objective about it, I can actually start to see the value proposition of buying into a platform like this for specific tools like the track saw or the sander, depending on what your priorities are. And by the way, who said we have to get married to one power tool platform? I know it's easier and more convenient to just have one battery to rule them all, but in reality, putting up with that little convenience to get into something like the Festool track saw, I think for a lot of people makes a lot of sense. So let me know what you think. Which of these two brands do you think is the better buy? Which brands do you think I should pit against Festool next? Who do you think is the true Festool killer? And if you enjoyed this video or you got some benefit out of it and you want to support a small channel, please consider smashing that subscribe, like, and bell icon to see what comes next. I'm on a mission to help everybody enjoy woodworking more, no matter your budget or your shop size. So until next time, no matter what you're working with and no matter what shade of green your track saw is, remember to enjoy the build. Thanks for watching.